Hey everyone, today we will recap one of the most trending movies of 2022, Watergate Bridge, also popular as The Battle at Lake Changjin 2. It is a 2022 Chinese war film and the continuation to The Battle at Lake Changjin, 2021. It was directed and produced by Chen Kaige, Shui Hark, and Dante Lam and stars Wu Jing, Jackson Yi, and Duan Yihong. The film commemorates the 100th anniversary of the Chinese Socialist Coalition and is based on the verifiable battling at Funchailan Pass during the Battle of Chosin Reservoir in the Korean War. The film was released on February 1, 2022, Chinese New Year. And now let's begin to dive into the plot and enjoy watching. The document opens with a recap of scenes from the fight at Lake Changjin, presenting the fundamental characters from that film and their previous activities. In the wake of battling at Sinhung-ni, the Chinese Public Worker Armed Force, PVA's, 7th Organization shows up at an area 12 kilometers from Hagaru-ri where it meets components of the 20th Corps and the Cannons Unit directed by Commandant Yang, getting ready to go after the runway and American 1st Marine Division supply base at Hagaru-ri. The PVA units drive caught American vehicles and utilize caught hardware. The film leaps to the ocean of Japan where Douglas A-1 Skyraiders send off from U.S. plane-carrying warships to go after PVA units progressing on Hagaru-ri from 9 headings. The 7th Organization is then barraged by U.S. Naval Force Vought F-4U Corsairs, however they continue on toward an alternate objective causing no setbacks. 7th Organization Authority Wu Qianli understands the planes mean to go after the ordnance contingent and pushes his men ahead. The scene then, at that point, movements to the Big Guns Force section progressing in caught U.S. trucks towing cannons pieces which is then gone after by the Corsairs incurring most extreme harm on the segment, obliterating every one of the firearms. The 7th Organization shows up on the scene. Yang lets Qianli know that all his caught weapons have been obliterated. Qianli hands Yang a gun and advises the 7th Organization to go catch more firearms 1.5 kilometers away. Yang then, at that point, mobilizes his men to likewise go catch more weapons. The scene then moves to the U.S. edge at Hagaru-ri which is assaulted by PVA powers. PVA officers hurled themselves onto a security barrier with the goal that their confidants can run over their backs to go after U.S. positions. PVA powers, including the 7th Organization and the Ordnance Force overwhelm the U.S. protectors, killing a large number of them. Ping He utilizes a bazooka to obliterate a U.S. assault rifle position and the U.S. banner is blown very high. The Big Guns contingent then, at that point, turns the caught ordnance around to start shelling the Hagaru-ri landing strip. Qianli recovers his gun from Yang and afterward pushes his unit ahead to go after the landing strip. The PVA assaults Hagaru-ri. 1st Marine Division Officer Significant General Oliver P. Smith is educated that PVA are all over and coming in quick. The Ordnance Force fires a crawling torrent in front of the 7th Organization. The Americans empty their medical clinic while Smith requests that the runway is kept open and he is placed in touch with Tokyo. The scene then moves to Tokyo where General Douglas MacArthur is going to a festival. MacArthur gets a call from Smith who exhorts him that Hagaru-ri landing strip is the back line, that he needs troops to hang tight and demands fortifications to cover their withdrawal. MacArthur yells Smith this is war. Withdrawing is treachery and orders Smith to stop his retreat. The scene gets back to Hagaru-ri where PVA mounted guns is currently raising a ruckus around town and the remainder of the base. AC-47 Skytrain is obliterated by ordnance fire and Smith orders airplane to utilize the street all things being equal. Smith orders support of the Sumun scaffold and afterward arranges a retreat from Hagaru-ri. Yang is injured by U.S. ordnance discharge ravaging his hand yet alone figures out how to load and shoot a cannon's piece obliterating an American firearm. The Americans retreat under ordnance fire as the PVA infantry overwhelm Hagaru-ri. The scene movements to the PVA 9th Corps base camp at Changfangdong. Melody Shailan is educated that the Marines are withdrawing and that the main course is across the Sumun extension. Peng orders the 7th Organization to withdraw from the battling at Hagaru-ri to impede the U.S. retreat at Sumun scaffold. At Hagaru-ri the 7th Organization is wiping up. Wu Wanli who was harmed in the assault gives his sweeping to a seriously injured American in the medical clinic. The PVA troops rest and recover while the commandants meet and count their setbacks. Qianli gets the character labels of the 78 men who have been killed and afterward leaves a lit cigarette as an offing in the snow. Qianli gets the request to progress to the Sumun extension and annihilate it. Qianli's radio administrator brings up an obliterated U.S. helicopter and expresses that later on China will have their own better planes and Qianli answers that it is inevitable. Qianli orders the 7th Organization to prepare to move out. The scene movements to the White House where President Harry S. Truman gets a message from MacArthur mentioning utilization of nuclear bombs to win the conflict. A voiceover from a 30th of November public interview has Truman trying not to say whether nuclear bombs would be utilized. The 7th organization progresses towards the Sumun extension in snowstorm conditions that freeze their compass. The 7th organization shows up at the extension to find the 9th organization going after the US powers, and they join the assault. Safeguarding the 9th organization survivors yet are compelled to pull out. The 7th and 9th organization fighters tend their injured and eat frozen canned food, while Kinley counts the dead. US aircraft assault the region with insignificant impact. A 9th organization fighter relates their assault on the scaffold, which caused slight harm. The US powers fix the extension and their protected positions. The 7th and 9th organizations plan another assault. The 9th organization commandant says that they should obliterate the extension and afterward kicks the bucket from a previous injury. US powers at the extension stock their weapons while shielded fortifications continue toward the scaffold. The US commandant, a skipper, intends to draw the PVA onto the south finish of the extension and afterward obliterate them. Kinley briefs the two organizations on the arrangement to go after the extension from 4 distinct bearings. Kinley advises Wanli to run free, appearance that he has acquired his trust. The organizations recognize the sun looking north towards China, and present May individuals Republic of China live forever prior to separating for the assault. The 4 gatherings send concealed in obscurity. A US marksman shoots a PVA courier and thus is shot by a PVA sharpshooter, who likewise shoots out a searchlight on the north finish of the scaffold. Wanli tosses a projectile which explodes the US correspondence's shelter, beginning the assault. A US lookout on the south finish of the extension is obliterated by a bazooka shot. The US protectors continue high alert, yet at the same time intend to trap the PVA assailants. PVA powers puncture a water pipe beneath the extension and afterward fire a bazooka up the line, causing a blast at the siphon house behind the scaffold. 3 PVA troopers run up the line and assume control over the siphon house, setting off blasts that kill US fighters who show up to examine. More PVA fighters run up inside the line and more US warriors go into the siphon house. One of the US fighters tosses an explosive down the line and a PVA warrior hops on it and retains the impact. One more bazooka round is started up the line, killing more US warriors. A PVA warrior shoots out the lights in the siphon house and more Americans are killed, then more PVA troopers rise up out of the line. North of the extension, Kinley dispatches a performance assault. When the Americans attempt to fire him with a recoilless rifle, they hit their central command fortification. The Americans leave the HQ dugout in the wake of setting a destruction charges. Kinley stops more than 10 unarmed US troops. The destruction charge explodes and the Americans disperse while Kinley look through the dugout to attempt to catch the US leader. PVA and US warriors battle for control of the siphon house while PVA mortars obliterate the US ammo capacity regions. PVA powers overwhelm the US positions on the north finish of the extension, while on the south end they spring their snare on the PVA assailants. Wanli explodes an automatic rifle position with a projectile. Yukon Grong pushes him far removed of an expert sharpshooter who shoots you, obviously killing him. The US heavily clad section moves toward the north finish of the extension and a tank fires on the PVA, who answer with mortar fire and a tough infantry assault. Wanli, having traveled through the US channels, attempts to explosive a US position, however is come by the US officer. They wrestle and the skipper wins until Kinley shows up and puts a firearm to the commander's head. Wanli then, at that point, puts the prepared projectile inside the chief's coat and it detonates, dispensing with him. The US protectors at the north finish of the extension fire on the PVA with flamethrowers, killing a few fighters, one of whom continues to fire until he consumes to death. The PVA use mortars as bazookas and shoot a gas can, making petroleum spread on the ground. When the flamethrowers fire again, they touch off the petroleum, killing numerous US fighters. The PVA officers in the siphon house kill American fighters on the rooftop. Wanli and Kinley salvage Yu, who was concussed. A US tank propels across the scaffold. The PVA troops at the south end attempt to obliterate it with a caught recoilless rifle. Kinley dispatches a performance assault on the US troops nearby the siphon house, handling a US warrior on the rooftop and afterward falling inside. A PVA warrior runs from the siphon house towards the tank, conveying a handbag charge. He is more than one shot and the charge detonates, deteriorating him. Inside the siphon house, Ping he is gone after by a US trooper who pierces him on a metal shaft. However, Kinley then garrots the American, yet is ensnared in destruction. Ping he takes another handbag charge and jumps under the tank. His arm is squashed and he is hauled under the tank. He advises Kinley to fire and he does so, lighting the travel bag charge, obliterating the tank and puncturing the scaffold. The PVA units advance on the extension, annihilating the last US positions, while Kinley is caught in the siphon house destruction. Recharged tank fire deteriorates a PVA warrior as the vanguard of the 1st Marine Division moves toward the north finish of the scaffold and afterward continue to barrage the region. Qianli utilizes a sign whistle to arrange a retreat and the PVA pull out. Wanli attempts to safeguard Qianli, who advises him to leave, yet he and another trooper extricate Qianli and they get away from down the line. The following morning, some enduring 7th and 9th Organization warriors rest in a valley close to the extension. Yu climbs a slope for a superior radio transmission when a trip of F4U Corsairs moves toward the valley. The Corsairs drops napalm which misses the mark as Yu is terminated on the planes, causing them to notice him. The planes follow Yu, dropping more napalm, and he is set land and breaks down in the fire. The planes return and barrage the valley, pounding a few PVA troopers and injuring numerous others, including Wanli. At the scaffold, the Marines fix the extension and their battling positions as they plan to hold the scaffold for 3 days to permit their powers to withdraw across it. Beneath the scaffold, more PVA survivors strip the annihilated US tank for provisions. The scene then, at that point, boats to the Ocean of Japan, where a voiceover says that the 1st Marine Division is confronting a significant test. The scene then moves to MacArthur in Tokyo, who is educated regarding the harm to the Sumun extension. MacArthur says that he told Smith not to withdraw. He is informed that his nuclear bomb plan caused contention in the UN and he arranges the Sumun scaffold be fixed. The Pedon eliminates his cap and withdraws from official salute. Wanli takes a modest bunch of soil and encloses it by texture. In a back region, PVA organization leaders report their misfortunes. Among the Big Guns Brigade, just 107 out of 221 report for obligation, while Wanli reports that of the 157 fighters in the 7th Organization, only 1 reports for obligation. Toon stops and gazes seriously at Wanli and orders that a banner be brought. Melody inquires as to whether he wants for anything. Wanli answers that he needs to re-establish the 7th Organization. Toon gives Wanli a banner and salutes him. The banner is then shown flying as Wanli holds a urn containing Qianli's remains. Wanli envisions Qianli getting some information about skipping stones across water. Wanli gets back to his family town as the scene blurs and the credits start. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like the videos and subscribe to my channel for more videos and updates.